Alright guys, I want to take you for a walk through here around the 1989 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. As far as I know, exterior is all original. I purchased it in 2017 and haven't done anything exterior wise. So paint is original, wood trim original, the wheels are original, tires are new. Those have about 2,000 miles on them approximately. Those are 32 by 10.5 BF Goodrich all-terrains. Walking around the front here, it does have the Marshall fog lamps that are both working fine. I put new headlights in that are a little bit brighter than the factory ones. I also put in new parking lamps there. Those were cracked when I bought it. The paint defect, other than a little bit of dirt on the hood there, is really right here on the hood. You can see hopefully the clear coat has kind of peeled off a little bit there. That's like that when I got it. It hasn't really changed. What else on the outside here? Roof rack. I'm going to point your attention to an area here where there is a bend to that rail there that goes bend up, and the one in front bends down. So I think I would probably just take those off personally, but I never got around to messing with it. What else? It's got the original factory tow bar, as well as the factory tow bar sticker has survived. Let's go ahead and start it up, and we can talk about what's been done to the motor, as well as a little bit of interior stuff. Hold on a second, guys. Alright, so first of all, let's look at the mileage. 109,202 miles on it now. As you can see, it's got really strong oil pressure on startup. It's essentially a brand new engine. Go ahead and pop the hood and we'll talk about that. Hard to do here one-handed, sorry. There we go. Alright, so that's a S&J remanufactured V8, AMC V8, factory 5.9 liter V8s. For fuel, we're running a Holley Terminator fuel injection system. And when we get back in, I'll show you that's got a little monitor that goes inside the cab that you can check out some different settings on. Pretty much everything was done to this motor that you could get option-wise. This has got a port polished heads. It's a competition cam, the 268H competition cam, and competition cam valve springs, as well as a competition cam double roller timing set. It's got upgraded push rods. It has a modification to the oiling system. AMC V8s are known for some oil starvation issues, so it's got some upgraded oiling to the valley. It's got, MSD ignition, new distributor, got the MSD ignition as well as the blaster coil, all new plugs and wires. I got a red top Optima battery. We got a new aluminum fan shroud from BJ's Off-Road. All the belts are new. The alternator there, that is a 150 amp upgraded alternator. Edelbrock valve covers, Edelbrock air cleaner, an Edelbrock RPM intake. Exhaust is a Doug Thorley long tube headers. That's going into a 3-inch stainless steel exhaust. Issue I got with the motor is that it's got a small leak. If you look right there, I parked it there what it does. Now, if you drive it for a long period of time, like for an hour or so, you'll get a little bit more than that. That long line there, that's a crack in my driveway. That's not oil, but that's the oil spot right there. What I've done is that was replaced once and it worked for a good long time, and then it started leaking a little bit again. So instead of tearing back into it again, we put this little metal pan right there. The reason that's there is because otherwise when the oil dripped, it went right on that crossover pipe, and you know, it made a bad smell. So that is why that is there. I just did not feel like trying to tear back into that and redo it. It is a two-piece seal, so you can change it from underneath here without pulling out the motor. You just have to loosen up the caps and drop the crankshaft down a little bit to get it out. Suspension here. This is a new 2.5-inch lift with springs and shocks. Springs are Alcon, made in the USA. The shocks are Bilsteins. It's a 2.5-inch lift. All the polyurethane bushings have been replaced on the suspension. There's also all new polyurethane mounts on the motor as well as the transmission. Transmission's got a nice new pan on it. The front and rear differentials have been serviced. The transmission's been serviced. All the fluids have been changed. The exhaust, I got a catalytic converter there. Magnaflow muffler. It's a single exhaust. There's not really any rust on this at all. This is, you know, an area that commonly rusts out on these Wagoneers, is this sort of casket over the fuel tank. It's in good shape. Frame rails, you know, in good shape. Body mounts are original. I'd probably change those eventually if I kept it. So yeah, I mean, it's for 32 years old, all original. It's doing pretty good. All right, let's take a look on the inside here. So these doors open for you. So inside also all original, you know, carpets are original, seats are original. What's not original is this. This is a center console out of like a 1990 era Explorer. And I don't have it wired up, but it can be wired up. And so you're gonna have 2 USBs there, as well as rear AC. And then you get the cup holders down there. In the front, that's what it looks like in the front. Same thing, you'll get the 2 USB chargers there. And what you do if you wanted to do it is you take this, you know, lift this guy back out, and underneath here you can come into the AC ducts with a little, basically a gutter attachment you buy at Home Depot, and it'll plug into the ducts there, and then the wires to this are already pre-run, and they're just cut there, and they need to be hooked into something underneath the dash if you wanted to do that. What else? All the exterior lights, everything works. The rear window works fine off of this switch, but it does not work off of the tailgate switch. This thing does not work. I'm suspicious that it may just be a ground wire issue, or a wire. Apparently the wiring harness actually runs underneath the carpet here and up into that area. I haven't really messed with it, but that is not functional. Radio powers up and just does not get reception. Not sure exactly what the problem is there, if it's just the radio is too old to work, or it might be a ground wire issue there as well. It's not giving it good reception. I did change out all the speakers in anticipation of changing out the radio. So it's got all Polk speakers in it. You know, 2 in the door and then 2 in the rear. Upgraded the rears to a larger size as well. Those are Polk audio speakers, but I never got around to trying to fix the radio. Locks and unlocks, they work, but they can be slow. So, you know, it just depends on the day and the temperature a little bit. I think if you took the door cards off here and kind of lubed up the mechanisms, they would probably be a little more consistent for you. The Power mirrors work on both sides. So those work on both sides. All the window motors work just fine, but everything other than this driver's front is pretty darn slow. The right front over there, it's just slow. That one's not too bad. And then, you know, they're all slow. So all of them, you know, need to be probably lubricated a bit. The window wipes, I've either changed them all out or have the ones that I haven't changed out. Door seals, the fronts are fine. Rears were kind of torn up, so I got new door seals in the rears. What else? This is something that sometimes is hard to find. That's the cargo cover that is included. Didn't come with the vehicle. I was able to find it and purchase it secondhand. What else to tell you? Anything else that doesn't work? Rear windshield power guy washer works. So does the rear wiper work. But almost all Wagoneers are missing this little rubber thing, and you want to buy one nowadays, it's like $300 on eBay. However, I do have one that the tab is broken off of. So what I was planning to do if I ever repainted it was to put that in there and just kind of epoxy it in place when they painted it. But that's just one of the other things I never completely got to. Let me take the window down the rest of the way and I'll open up the tailgate for you. Well, ignore that's a kid's Christmas present it's hiding. That's the original center console that would have been there. I had this just protective carpet over the back, but the you know, all the trim and carpets there. It is, however, a little messed up in the corners, so on both corners. So I, you know, would probably look at replacing the cargo area carpet if you were interested in that. Tailgate, trim, everything's all there. All right, let's maybe take it for a little ride. Oh, fueling system. I didn't tell you about the fueling system. So it's got an electric fuel pump now underneath the rail, and there's an intake in the tank. There is a it's called Hydromat. It's made by Holly. Basically, these tanks don't have any baffles because I used to use a mechanical pump. So if you run an electric pump on it now and you go too fast around a curve or something, you could get fuel starvation. So the Hydromat in there kind of soaks up the fuel, and so it prevents fuel starvation. So I haven't had any issues with that. Let me check my little list here and make sure there's nothing else I missed. For the tailgate, I do have a new tailgate wipe that I'll include as well. I never installed it, but I have it. Engine we talked about. Also new stainless steel brake lines. That was part of the lift kit, as well as the track bar extensions and all the different bushings we talked about. I also put on wheel spacers. These wheels, when I lifted it up, they were pretty tucked in. Didn't really look great in my opinion. So we put on some wheel spacers, as well as some new stainless lugs. All right, let's take it for a quick spin around the neighborhood. All right, here we go. It's a great view looking out at that Jeep hood ornament. And speaking of view, man, the view out of these things is, you've got no obstructions anywhere. You can glass everywhere, tiny A-pillars. Oh, also new in the interior, I put in new seat belts, just in the front only. I was thinking of doing the rears with the shoulder harness installation. There is already a captive nut up in the roof area where you could install shoulder belts in the rear, but yeah, one of the many other things I hadn't gotten to. But this is a solid truck, you know, it drives great. I've been driving it now 1 or 2 days a week to work and back every day, including through the winter here where it's been, you know, pretty cold. It starts right up. You know, if it's cold out, you should let it idle for a little bit before you just take off with it. But it's solid, it's dependable. If it wasn't for that tiny little, well, it can be tiny. I wouldn't say totally tiny. If it wasn't for that little rear main oil leak, it'd be pretty flawless. So what I did is I just went ahead and bought a drip pan and put it in my garage. So it leaks a little bit of oil on the drip pan instead of on the garage floor. It has been garage kept ever since I bought it in 2017. I'm guessing it spent most of its life in a garage prior to that, since it's 32 years old and original paint and original wood trim, and you know, it's certainly not perfect, but it looks better than anticipated, I think, for 32 years old. Back, maybe I'll rev the motor a little bit for you just so you can kind of hear the exhaust. Initially when I put the exhaust on, I did it without the catalytic converter, and it was just a little too loud, and also it did not smell great. So I quickly changed my mind on that and went ahead and installed the catalytic converter. I'll bring it over here and then we can look under it and see what the oil situation is as well. Let me crack the door open, give you a few revs. Alright, and then let's also take a look at this guy. So that's your little thing that comes with the Holley Terminator system. So that's a self-learning, it's supposed to program itself. Alright, I'll stop revving the motor. Just turn it off. You know, factory manual as well there. So let's peek and see what the oil situation is doing after I rev the heck out of it. It looks like, so far, nothing. But, you know, if I let it sit here for the next 15-20 minutes, we're gonna get that little spot that I showed you earlier when I first turned it on. All right, well, hopefully that's gonna answer all the questions you can think of. If there's any more that this video didn't cover, obviously let me know in the comment section and we'll get it covered. Thanks, and hopefully you guys, one of you enjoys your new Grand Wagoneer.